Hello everyone, this is the last video. We're going to analyze in a very fast way the definite and indefinite articles. Once again, it's something that you have analyzed before, okay? So, we have this chart on page 123 of your student's book, and it's a general explanation of the definite and indefinite articles in general and specific uses, okay? Definite article is the, indefinite article an, okay? So for general uses we have countable and non-countable nouns. In this case, if you notice, we do not use articles, okay? Every time we're going to talk in a general way, we don't need to use articles. That is a mistake that we usually do because we think in Spanish, okay? It's not the same thing. We have to be very careful with that. So for countable nouns, we have precautions need to be taken, okay? We don't need to specify the precautions. Why? Because if we use the precautions, we have to specify which precautions. So if you wanted to use the definite article, you would have to say the precautions mentioned in the article need to be taken, okay? In the case of non-count nouns, again, we do not need an article. Research tells us that the risks are real. Once again, if I wanted to use an article, I need to be more specific. The research by the scientific team tells us that the risks are real, okay? That's why, once again, we don't need to use articles if we're going to talk in a general way. Now, if we're specific, we have 4 forms. The first mention of something, adjective plus a number, shared knowledge, and adjective that refers to a group of people, okay? So, the first mention of something. Is this a risk you're willing to take? I'm talking about the first time that I mentioned this. If the other person says, which risk? Oh, the risk of losing your house, okay? Then, in that case, you're being much more specific using the, okay? Adjective plus number. A record 10 attacks were recorded in 2016. Now, in this case, the structure is the one that requires us the article, okay? Letter E, shared knowledge. The study was conducted in Japan. Which study? It's something that it's either mentioned previously or is general knowledge, okay? And finally, adjective that refers to a group of people. The rich tend to live longer, okay? The rich is actually referring to that whole part of the population, okay? So, what are we going to do right now? We're going to analyze, for example, where or in what situations may we use or not use articles. For countries, we have to be very careful. There are countries in which the official name requires the use of the United States, the United Kingdom, okay? The Republic of China, the Popular Republic of China, something like that. But for example, if we talk about Canada, we don't need to say the Canada. If we talk about Mexico, we don't need to say the Mexico, okay? And they all take a singular verb, okay? And well, that means that in the present form, it's a verb ending with an S. Collective nouns such as organizations, companies, and stores take singular verb in American English and may or may not have an article. Nouns that refer to a category, however, are plural, okay? For example, UN. Generally, we use the UN, okay? Shared knowledge, use the when you refer to something a second time or the listener knows what you're referring to. What I was mentioning before. If in a text or in a conversation we're using a noun for the second time, then yeah, we can use the. Why? Because we already know that we're referring to it. And finally, fractions may take a singular or plural verb. Expressions involving time, money, or distance generally require a singular verb. If you notice this part, these some sort of rules don't just refer to the use of the article, but they also refer to the use of the appropriate verb, okay? And finally, we have quantifiers and pronouns, okay? It says, notice the pronoun differences between countable and non-countable nouns. In this case, the only thing that is going to, or this is going to be referring to is, depending on the noun that we're using, we're going to use different kind of pronouns. If they are non-count nouns or uncountable nouns, we may find them like that in some other texts, we're going to use it every time we refer to an uncountable noun. For example, the article offers lots of advice. Most of it is useful, some of it is not. What is it referring to? The advice. And we're talking about a countable noun. The article offers lots of suggestions. In this case, first, it is plural, and second, it is countable, okay? Most of them are useful, some of them are not. One of them in particular is terrible. Them is always referring to suggestions, okay? Now, I'm going to send you also a tiny exercise about this. There's some correction of mistakes, and that will be the exercise for this part, okay? If you have any questions, once again, please let me know.